Kong. I'm Andy Curtin. I'm here with Vivek Mahbubani.
Wow. I thought you were going to go with Mamma Mia or something this week. But okay.
I feel racist at this point.
We've done enough episodes. It's been a year. I think, you got my name down.
And where do people who want to get your name down, where do they find you online?
Funnyvivek.com, or sometimes social media is funnyvivek with the letter M, the one that you can't spell or pronounce properly, that M. Yeah, just put that there.
I'm Andy Curtin, everything, Instagram, all that jazz. I got a lot of stuff you can check out there. Also, we're doing shows now. We have a brand new website. It's amazing. TheBackstageHK.com.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's got shows, videos.
Pretty much every week.
Yeah. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, dude. We sold out last weekend. This week we're going to sell out like a bunch of weeks in a row.
Oh, people get your tickets quick. Don't be the only one in Hong Kong who's not been to a show.
It's funny when you sell out because like you get to that moment where people are like, "Oh, can you get us in?" And you're like, "No."
Exactly. You're looking at it like, "I'm sorry."
Because normally people are so bold about buying late, and it makes selling the tickets really hard. But when you sell out, that's good marketing. Also, if you go to patreon.com/hohopod, we have a Patreon, and we do bonus episodes every Thursday. Lots of fun, other video and photographic content. We have a Facebook group.
Yeah, look at that.
If you Facebook Ho Hong Kongers, it's just, lots of fun stuff about Hong Kong, China, Asia, all that jazz. And the great people from our WhatsApp group are in there as well. How's your coffee, dude?
Oh, it's pretty good, man. I'm enjoying the V Coffee, Hong Kong's original vegan coffee here. And it's a mocha without milk, so luckily I will not be going to the toilet for the next hour.
Yeah, we're grabbing coffee from Manna, Manna is great. I really do love this place. So you remember Bob's, he did an episode.
And it's not just Manna, it's Manna! Because there's an exclamation mark.
That bothers me a little bit.
It does, right?
I'm just like, do I capitalize the next letter?
Yeah.
Manna's in the center. You can't just have an exclamation. But it's funny you were talking about people having fonts as their logos.
Last time. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'm like, guys, get rid of the exclamation mark. Get yourself a logo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you need. No, they're fantastic. Now, today's guest is the co-author of Dear Hong Kong, which is a book that celebrates cultural diversity, featuring inspiring people from different countries, all living in Hong Kong, and their contribution to our city. Oskar Valles, thank you, man. It's good to have you in here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for myself.
So did you just say Dear Hong Kong or Dear Hong Kong?
Dear Hong Kong.
Okay, yeah.
You making fun of my accent?
Yeah, I was
is
just
that
like,
what we're doing?
I heard like Dear Hong Kong. I'm like, whoa, look at this guy with this.
Dear.
Hello,
Dear Hong Kong.
Yeah, so this is a book, Dear Hong Kong. I love it because like if you can speak, read the Chinese characters, instead of saying Hong Kong, it says Hong Kong with the Hong as in home Kong. I love that take on it. When I saw them, I'm like, that's so smart. Sounds pretty much the same, but it has the Hong as in home Kong. So I was like, wow. That's a very smart move.
It's an amazing book, I got to say. It's up off the bat. And it's kind of interesting for us because whilst we're not expat focused, we do look for interesting people in the city. And I know you had Jeff Rotemeyer in there who's been on the podcast before. And it's just fascinating. So why don't we start with how you ended up in Hong Kong? So you've been here about 10 years now, right?
Yes, correct. I've been here for 10 years. I came here for a corporate job. I mean, when we ask people in our book, like the story behind is not so exciting. Like people came here for work or for love.
Pretty much every or very random job.
Or to get away from love.
Exactly. They're here for work or love, never love of the work.
Yeah.
But okay, we're here for this.
Yeah, so I came here 10 years ago for a corporate job.
From Spain?
In a Spanish company. I was living in Ireland before. So I was
of course,
already away.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense.
So yeah, I was working for the first 5 years in this job, traveling around Asia and getting acquainted with the differences. I was the expert in Asia from my my company.
Had you been to Asia?
There's such a thing.
Had you been to Asia before?
Yeah, I had been. I was backpacking in Asia for like a year and a half before.
Oh, so you're
just before that. But anyway, like, how can I become an expert?
I don't blame you because, like, amongst my friends, I'm the Indian expert, and they look at me like, "So, Viv, tell me about Indian culture." I'm like, "Sure."
Well, the thing about Indian culture is,
I mean, we eat with our hands. I guess that's a good one.
I just love this idea that you're in like an office of Spanish people in Ireland, and they're like, "Who's the Asia expert?" Well, Oscar's got some elephant pants from Thailand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he knows how to order off the menu. So let's get him. I'll have a number one. Wow, that's so Asian.
He's using chopsticks.
So okay, you came here 5 years of the job, and then what about like what made you decide I want to get out of this corporate environment and kind of do something else?
Well, that was a hard one, right? Because we're used to good salary, good
Yeah.
you get the chicks and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got the name
I
tag.
think I missed
everything.
that part.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think they'll give that to me and Vivek when we get out.
Look at us, man. We're not corporate people. Look at us.
Should've done
So
that.
then I decided that to do something more meaningful. So I had like an inside.
Revelation, like just a thought.
Kind of thing.
One of those moments where
kind
you're
of
at the
thing.
office desk going like, what am I still entering?
I'm in
Excel
lotus position in the chair, and
Yeah.
What industry were you working in?
I was working in fashion. So I was I was.
So already creative. It's not like you.
Well, it was finance, not so creative.
Finance, fashion. Like, what do the rich dress? Like,
Well,
should
like,
I invest
is
in
that like those
Gucci?
shirts that have like a dollar sign on them?
It's like look, your golden chains with the money word on
No,
it.
like I was at the executive finance director for this company in
Yeah.
Asia. So I was traveling to different countries. I found myself with a suit and a tie in a office in India
starting
or
to
in Japan or in Korea
Yeah.
or something, talking about finance.
I'm starting to understand why you had the women.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. I approve of this spending.
Like, wait, you were the boss of a fashion company wearing suits, flying around Asia.
And deciding to spend money
yeah,
or
yeah.
not.
Women were attracted to you.
Fair
You know, I
enough.
worked in an office before. There were no women involved.
Yeah.
But the thing is that as fancy as it may look, I felt like I was a traitor to myself in a way. Like I wasn't really following on my values. Like,
Yeah, who you were,
I
right?
care about the environment.
Was it
fashion
close?
industry is not really caring about the environment. These kind of things.
Okay.
Or do I want to do this for my whole life? Like there's so many other things that I care about that I just need time.
Yeah.
To start doing them. And there were so many projects like the Dear Hong Kong project that were knocking there. Like, hey, I'm here
Yeah.
all the time. Like for 5 years.
Yeah.
I was just trying to do something like this, but I never had the time to do it.
Did you try anything else before Dear Hong Kong? Did you have any other ventures that you tried or projects?
Yeah, I mean, I started the travel business. So I like traveling. I was with these bands going around Asia.
Yeah.
And I started the travel business to bring Spanish people to Asia. Because I was an expert in Asia, so I could show them around and everything.
Nice.
That failed. Like
Apparently, Spanish people didn't want to come to Asia.
no, it was okay. It was
Yeah.
okay. We had a good time. We traveled with
Yeah.
them. We didn't make much money. We didn't lose money.
But you
that's
enjoyed
fine.
it, yeah.
So
Sounds
in
pretty
a
good.
sense, it was a learning. Like many things in life that you learn from them.
Yeah.
And you enjoy them. That's
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
And then I went to culinary school.
Oh.
So I decided to do something totally different, and I started training as a chef. So I spent a year in Hong Kong learning
chef.
how to cook. And I
Wow.
opened a private kitchen at home.
Oh,
I
okay.
was-
Good for you.
I found myself cooking for people.
You
for
were the
random people.
teacher?
No,
he
I
was
was
the cook.
I was
He was
learning, and then
you got a teacher.
Let me just explain how absurd this is. So you have a flat in Hong Kong where you were like, I need to bring more people in here to fill up my
The
space.
rent is very high.
Yeah, the rent is so you get people to come in and pay a fee so you cook for them. I was gonna cook dinner for myself. I'm just gonna cook for you and charge you more so I can pay my rent. That is such a brilliant
yeah,
idea.
you're just a bad host.
Look at this guy. He's gonna get
it was
people to
successful, eh?
yeah, I'm gonna fly you from Spain to Asia, get you to come eat in my house. Like this guy's all in it, man. I love your business idea.
Who likes Deliveroo? Who likes Deliveroo, guys?
Exactly.
But the
Like,
thing is that I tried to make a brand that was like kind of everything. So the name of the private kitchen was Chef Guevara.
Oh, I love it. So you
This
big
show.
on the... I
So I
can
played-
see a theme here.
I played Cuban music. I had the photo of the Che on the wall and everything,
yeah.
and I cook Spanish food.
Oh my God, I love it.
Nice. That definitely would be an experience. Like I can imagine so many date nights where the guy's like, I'm gonna so impress her. I'm gonna so impress her, and she's like, I was here with my last date. So yeah, no.
I just imagine all the people in Hong Kong being like, oh yeah, I knew Che Guevara is Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People were asking me if he was my grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
sure,
would be-
sure.
Oh, you can tell any story, like whatever story you want to hear. I'll tell you that.
Were you still working at the fashion company at this point?
No.
No, you got out of there. How hard was that to quit?
It was hard. It was hard because you have a good salary and everything. You
Stability.
don't know what's stability, which is very much precious in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
So people look for stability. But then I found from my previous experiences in life that sometimes you just jump into the void and
Yeah.
then suddenly you can fly. Like things work.
Yeah.
So it's just to take this leap of faith and then things will work. And
Yeah.
they did. So I feel much happier than that.
And worst case scenario, you can cook great food for yourself when you're like,
No.
when you're broke or something. You're like, well, I can cook this.
Well, I never say it was good food.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But they didn't know either.
Yeah,
No
I guess
basis.
that's what they eat in Spain.
guess
I mean,
Good.
Yeah.
I guess Spanish people like soggy rice. I guess that I didn't realize.
exactly. That's what works for them.
So, was there like a catalyst or something? Was there a moment or an event that transpired that you were like, okay, now's the time?
Yeah, just clicked in your head that moment. Do you remember that?
Well, the thing is that the body is a very smart thing. Like the body is telling you, like, hey, this is we're not comfortable here. So I started to have some back pain.
Oh, yeah. There we
And
go.
because
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
working, sitting in office and everything. And at that moment, I had more time to think. And it felt
Yeah.
like the perfect moment to
Back pain
change.
really makes me laugh because it's like
Not mine.
especially yours. No, because not always, but so often it's the body being like, dude,
yeah.
like I'm gonna take your spine and twist it.
Yeah,
So
if you
you
don't
just
stop this,
So
yeah.
you do to make different choices. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's such a bizarre
Yeah.
event. But I see it all. You know, it happens so much. You know,
Yeah.
so especially with I don't want to say it doesn't happen to women, but I hear it happen to guys a lot. It's like
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
dudes
Yeah.
get like their back is the first thing to go when they're just making poor choices in their employment.
But then you can look at things in life in two different ways. Like for me, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why you
Yeah.
start doing something else.
Yeah.
And then with the distance, you see that it was a good thing, actually. I mean,
Yeah. No, for sure. I think a lot of times we've heard different stories where people said the health issues kind of made them rethink is that the path I want to keep going down or not. Even myself, I'm sure everyone's had those issues where I got to rethink my way of living, those kinds of habits that I have. Which is why when my friends are sick, I'm like, good for you, man. You know, put down that vitamin pill. You don't need that
Yeah.
stuff. This is going to ruin your life. Put away that multivitamin.
You have pneumonia. Good luck with your new career.
Exactly, yeah. That's right. Nowadays, I just go up to my friends and cough them. This is for your future.
Yeah. So you did the travel company, you did the cooking company. I mean, I kind of love, I have a similar history where I tried a few different things and before I kind of landed on the one that I really love. And how did you know, what was the starting point for Dear Hong Kong?
well, I mean, that started really at this fashion company corporate office.
Did you know that it would become a full-time thing, or was it kind of a side?
I had no idea. But this is the thing in life that, and even I was not qualified. Like, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a photographer, I'm not a writer. But somehow is this thing that you know it makes sense. You know it. You have to do it. We started actually with a friend of mine that became one of the photographers in the book, Raul. So I asked him, like, okay, can we just? That was like 5 years before we actually started the book.
And you knew him before the book?
Yeah. So I asked him, like, okay, can we just interview people from different countries, see how it works?
Yeah.
And we had like a camera. We took video of them. I had no idea that I was going to do a book afterwards.
Yeah.
So that was going to be a multimedia thing. But I realized it didn't quite work because it was not intimate enough, or we were really bad at.
I mean, if two Spanish guys asked me if they could film me, I'd be thinking it would be too intimate.
Yeah. Exactly.
I
Like,
wouldn't
wait a
be
second.
worried about a lack of intimacy in
exactly.
that situation.
And this project is called Dear Hong Kong. Oh, man.
There you go, there you
Yeah, let me rethink
There's a
this.
deer involved as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the result wasn't really good. Like, we couldn't really take the stories out of people. They
Yeah.
were nervous. It wasn't good quality. But then somehow I kept on insisting. So I may not have the technical abilities to do something like this, but I'm persistent. If I believe in something, I just want to do it. And then I was so lucky. I was volunteering for AGIS organization, Intercultural Education.
Yeah.
I was going to schools in Hong Kong, and I was, cooking Spanish food or talking about climate change in Spain or whatever random topics they do, because they want to bring the world to the class.
So just to interrupt
Hong
you,
Kong.
Intercultural Education, ICE, is basically like this NGO, I would say. Like
Social enterprise.
Can I just say, I love that it's called ICE.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna bring ice
No,
to the
very
school.
cool.
But also in the US, ICE
Yeah, I
is-
mean,
it's
let's
a very
get-
different situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Today we're bringing you ice. It's like, okay, yeah, my parents are gonna be wearing now. So what they do, right, is that they bring people of different backgrounds to schools and do not your traditional. Oh, let me just talk about my life. This is our culture, but you actually do activities like the cooking that you've done. They've had Brazilian Brazilian capoeira in schools where the students actually in the uniform are going to be doing capoeira. I've been over there doing my stand-up comedy for them.
Bro,
Yeah.
ICE in the US is the people that take the immigrants. that have come across
Oh,
the
of
border.
course. I forget. Yeah, I thought it was the drugs that you were talking about. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
It's like the complete. It's like
Yeah.
it's not expanding cultural understanding. It's removing anyone
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
who's
you're right.
culturally different.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, so there you go. This is why we're on a different time zone. So yeah, go on. So I just wanted to inform the listeners of what ICE is and stuff.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful social enterprise that I was collaborating with, and then during the talks there with Egi, that is one of the people there, she shared with me that she had a similar idea of doing something like this.
This is your co-author, right?
Yes,
Agi.
Egi Lam, yes. So, when two people have similar ideas about something and the energy and time to do them, then it's like a
magic.
no-brainer. Just do it. And ever since we had that conversation, we have been working for more than 2 years. She's still working for ICE, and I had no other project, so I was working full-time for this. And we just went and did it. So, yeah, I mean, it has been such a journey, because ever since we have interviewed like 100 people in Hong Kong, so apparently the most inspiring people from every country. We were in this quest of finding the most inspiring people from every country in the world that lives in Hong Kong, and we're halfway there. Or, more. So
How many? Because I read you've already interviewed 90 people. How many people have you interviewed now? Do you know? Do you have a number?
yeah, I mean, it's about the same, because we produced this book, the Hong Kong book, Volume 1, with 80 different profiles and the portraits. And then probably after summer, we will keep on working on the rest of the profiles.
And you've interviewed people from Ukraine, Indonesia, Congo, Cuba, Pakistan. One of them was Dr. Mike Manio, a Filipino professor from the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Hong Kong. Teacher and ex-prisoner Dawit Debasai from Eritrea, and former Pakistani pilot Ajmal Samuel, who became a Paralympic medalist. So they're pretty amazingly diverse characters.
This is why you and myself are not interviewed in the book. We are just basic.
Well, you know what is funny? Because I was like, yeah, of course the Eritrea guy got it. Like,
cool. I mean,
He's the only one in Hong Kong.
I'm like, because you get one from each country. I'm like, come on, man. There's too many Australians here. I've done nothing. You got me. I'm like, I could juggle.
There's no story to that. I could do 3 roles if you want. Okay.
But, I mean, it's very interesting because who is more inspiring than others. I mean, we just.
Especially people who are like not in their usual place, or basically in a different foreign place, and how do they survive and live? What's their story? Why you're here? I think that's really fascinating, right? Every person you speak to, I'm sure you thought, I know this, and you hear them and you're like, whoa, I've learned something completely new. I never realized that was the journey that you're here, right?
Mm.
And I remember Aggie was asked who she thought was the most inspiring from Regina Larco on her podcast. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about, I can't remember the name of the place, but there's an orphanage in Wan Chai, and it was the organizer from that. Do you remember who I'm talking about? I think it's called Mother's Care.
Mother's Choice.
Mother's Choice,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, what a phenomenal place. Recently my kid was in hospital quite sick, and we were very worried about him because of COVID restrictions. He had pneumonia. He was in there for 4 days. And there's 1-year-old orphans in there by themselves in the hospital. And I just thought, you sort of forget how tough it is on some people, I mean, you talk about having no choice in the challenges, or no influence in the challenges you face. The kid doesn't even know he's a person yet. So can you talk about this lady a little bit and the work that she does?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that in this particular case, it's very important because it touches on one of the social issues. Through the book and through the interviews, we're touching on different social issues in Hong Kong. So this is one example of somebody that came here a long time ago, like more than 40 years ago, and actually established something beautiful that people know.
What was her name? What was her name?
Phyllis Marwa.
Got it.
So and the whole family, because now the lady running the charity is her daughter. So she started this, and it's a charity that people know, local people in Hong Kong know. And that's what we want, that people get related to these stories. And they probably don't know that it's an American lady that came to Hong Kong a long time ago to stay and to create this beautiful family of people that all of the children are involved in charity issues as well. So the thing is, what they do is they take care of teenage pregnant women and also their children. So that is something that wasn't really taken care of when they started, and they have been creating a network of people. I will share this story because it's beautiful. When we were there was one of the volunteers that was there that she was so committed to it and so emotional. And we asked her how did you come here to volunteer? And she was like, I was actually one of them. So I was adopted. I was here when I was a baby. And then she wanted to give back to the organization that actually helped her to find love, no? So
yeah.
I realized the currency that they give in these places is love, is care. Or you were mentioning Jeff in his organization, he's giving kindness to people. This is intangible things that you give to people.
But also, he has so many people that were living on the street that now work for the charity.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
And also, we had Fionn Leung last week talking about the charity.
Time Auction, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Fionn Leung you met from Time Auction? Have you met her?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, when you're trying to assess whether a charity is doing good work, what better vote of confidence than the fact that the people that went through it want to give back to it? To me, you're like, they're definitely doing good work.
Yeah. Which is why I consider comedy a charity. A lot of people who have helped us with the set up the lights are like, I can do some stage time. I'm like, this is a charity.
Yeah.
They're coming back to do shows now.
Yeah, there are definitely some emotional orphans kicking around the comedy scene.
Exactly. No, but that's something Mother's Choice is such a well-established charity, as in pretty much everyone knows it.
Yes.
And it's not one of those things of it's just, it's a charity that, on the side. But it's one of those things where it's not a matter of just throw some money and it's going to work. It's you need actually time. And you have volunteers who come take care of the kids as well at the centers. Because I remember I helped them with their charity ball. And doing my research, learning more about the whole charity. And I was like, oh my God, this is serious. When they first told me...
they're legit, right?
It's legit. And then, because, okay, so for example, I remember they said they needed to raise almost $20 million to keep running properly. And I was like, wow, what kind of money are you spending this on? I'm reading more and more. I'm like, okay, I see why you need this kind of money.
This kid Vivek's it turns out kids need to eat.
Yeah, I was like,
who knew?
Yeah, who knew? I would have thought
every day?
For their size, I figured, come on, a week of meal is good enough, right? You're not growing that fast, are you? Yeah, so, there you go. So all these stories, when you see it on the surface, it's kind of okay, yeah, helping kids, I get it. And then the more you learn, whoa, this is not just basic stuff. This is
But also when you realize, if they weren't there, the people they're helping, it's not like they got another option.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. So Mother's Choice is also a very, very good example of you might have close enough, but I don't see something that can replace Mother's Choice. I don't see that in Hong Kong. So you have some examples like that.
Father's Choice?
Apparently, we don't have choices. I'm sure you would know, Andy.
That's a mythical statement.
That would not be approved as a charity in Hong Kong. When you apply for that, they're like, yeah, no.
The father's choice is not to help the kids.
That's called a time off. It's can I have a father's choice center, please, where I go there?
Father's choice is that's the banks.
Exactly. No, father's choice is when the center has the fathers there alone as orphans. It's all right, all the orphan dads come over here,
and they don't know how to cook.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so all these different fascinating stories that you have met and then you've seen. So, was there one that stood out the most to you, personally on your level, that you were just wow, this really changed my mind completely, or this is something I didn't expect? Do you remember that?
Well, there were so many of them. Mother's Choice could be one of them. And this, for every one of the interviews, there is something really powerful that strikes me, because we ask them who they are and what's the philosophy for life. And with Phyllis from Mother's Choice, she said okay, I chose at the point in time of my life to be kind to everybody. So my children, whenever they are running around and very annoying or everything, I'm going to be kind to them. So this is a personal choice that we can all make in life, and then we're consistent with it, and we just do it unapologetically, regardless of whatever happens, and then that changes your life. And I think that she started with this little thing about her environment, and then you see how it applies to her family and then her extended family, because she considers more people in the community as the family.
Yeah.
And then you can feel how this expands.
Yeah.
So it's a little seed of kindness or love that you put, and then it expands everywhere. many other stories. But I think you were talking about the Eritrea guy, Dawit. So he has a fascinating story of being a prisoner in his country, and the way life can be in a totally different country that we don't know, and can change our perspective about the world, and we can feel super happy and content about our lives. Because in a country where you don't have any freedom, the government chooses for you, which is your job. So this is what you have to work.
That's what you do, yeah.
That's what you have to do. And then you're appointed to work as a teacher in an army camp. So you need to be training soldiers.
Yeah.
No matter what is your
background
or whatever, or your values, your moral values, you need to be training soldiers. And if you complain to that, then you're sent to prison. And you're not sent to an ordinary prison. I mean, he was many times describing
the prisons in Eritrea aren't nice.
Yeah. They're not nice. They're not nice.
Yeah.
So one of the things that strikes me whenever he tells me, we became good friends, and he tells me about sometimes the conditions in the cell. Like it's like the millimeter, like how you should position yourself as a human to fit. And that's the struggle you have.
So it's like a Hong Kong apartment.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
So I mean, with these conditions, he's a super happy person, and he believes that he's in Hong Kong now, and he's grateful for all his learnings and everything, and it's very inspiring. Like, you talk to him and you feel inspired automatically.
Because I know, you can even go to the websites. It's dearhongkong.org, right? For the website.
Yes.
Oh, and what's your Instagram account as well, right?
Also, Dear Hong Kong, yeah.
Yeah,
Dear Hong Kong
I'm sure at this
Facebook.
point people are probably going to like, this podcast is boring. I want to hear more about the book. So you can actually go to the website and check it out, dearhongkong.org, or basically go to the Instagram page and see more about these stories as well. Yeah, because again, with the cool thing with the book is that, of course, every couple pages is a different story, right? It's a book full of different stories. And I highly recommend what people can do if you are kind of feeling lost in life, which I've done with this book as well. Well, when I'm feeling a bit, when I'm feeling down, just flip. Honestly, take one random page, flip it, and read that story, and be like, "Damn, my day's not that bad." My life's pretty all right, and I can't complain anymore. And
this person's life's terrible.
Well, this person's life was terrible.
Yeah.
It's pretty good now. I'm like, well, if they could do that, I can do this. Yeah, so that's another good thing with all these stories in Hong Kong that you've highlighted in this book as well.
I also find especially we're in our late 30s, and I never understood why people in their, they get to our age and a little bit older, they do random social activities, whether it's playing golf or sporting team, and I never understood it. And what I realized after a while is when you get out of your 20s, it's kind of hard to meet people out of the real narrow lanes that you live in. You meet people from work, you meet people, and you start to realize that there's a homogeneity in the people you're meeting.
Style, right?
Yeah,
you're meeting the same type of people.
And whereas when we do this podcast, we meet so many people that we and you don't just so maybe you meet people, but you meet them in this superficial way where you don't get really to see how their life is quite different from yours. And this is just ripping everything open.
Yeah,
is that something that you've experienced in interviewing people?
Absolutely. Interview after interview, we realized that this intimacy that we were talking about is very important to create this for people to open up. So we realized that at some point in the interview, people were really comfortable and they were opening up and telling more about who they are. And that's fascinating because sometimes they told us oh, actually I enjoyed the interview because I never actually took time to think about my life in this way.
Yeah.
So for us, it was very inspiring. For some of them, also it was an opportunity, to reflect on their lives and what they really care about, that deeper than the usual conversations you may have in a bar, right? So about superficial topics.
But also we're storytellers, and it's our job, I think, to highlight them in a way that is a story. And what I found, some people are great. Some people you just touch them on the shoulder and boom, it just comes out of them. Like you, for example. But others, even though they have fascinating work, haven't realized kind of the story aspect to what they're doing, and I guess those are the people that are maybe a little tougher to interview. How have you found it getting people to realize, to tell their story?
Yeah, to be willing to open up
and understand how, it looks to everybody else.
Well, that's a very good question. Sometimes it was very, very hard, but, trying to something they mention at some point in the interview, then we go deeper into that because we kind of sense that there's
gold in them
there's
hills.
gold there. Yeah.
Like keyword hit it.
Probably something that they want to protect because they want to tell a lot of people.
Yeah,
but then if we dig
Their back keeps
deeper,
aching when they talk about something.
They twitch a little bit when they say that word. You're like, what'd you say? What'd you say? My bank account. Twitch. He's like, wait a second. Yeah.
No, but sometimes it's how the eyes
Glow, right?
shine.
Sunny. Yeah. The moment they say it, like, boom. Yeah.
When they say something and you can feel that people.
Yeah.
But I felt that way about you. I mean, when I heard you first talking about the book, I was like, you just had, you were very passionate about it, just gushing out of you. And I was like, man, we got to get in on that.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely. I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, speaking with you, you can see that this is not something that it's like, oh, I want to make some money, I want to make some different people. This is like something you really thoroughly enjoy, speaking to people. And I think, like, are you the type of person that loves hearing different stories of different people, and that kind of gives you more guidance in your life? Because what I find for myself is that the more I meet people, it's not so much like, oh, wow, that's so inspiring, but it kind of makes me go like, huh, that reflects with me. I can see that is something I would love to do, and that's teaching me to better know myself. Which is why with this podcast, when we meet different people, every time we speak to them, I'm like, I would like to do something like that. And it turns out I'm into that direction versus, other things where I thought I want to just be really good at it. I'm like, no, I want to actually be good at it, but also have an impact in this sense. Have you found that any particular stories that have made you rethink yourself, and your direction? Like, this is great doing the stories and everything, but you, Oskar, the person, have you had moments where you're like, wow, that's exactly what I want to be doing as well? Has there been one moment like that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you were mentioning about making money. We're making zero money. Nobody in the team is making
Dear
any money.
Hong Kong, help us.
No, but we did it deliberately. Like we said, okay, we have some donations. We did a crowdfunding campaign to sustain the production of the book and everything and the promotion, but that's it. Nobody's getting anything. And I've been working on this, working on my savings during this time, but it's fine because I really like it. I really like to.
Yeah.
And back to your point, like. Yes, I mean, I'm very curious. I've always been very curious since I was a kid. I don't know why. Whenever I meet people that are different than me, I'm curious.
Like, wow.
And for me, it's like a growing opportunity. And I want to make people feel the same.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of things to learn when we meet somebody different than us.
Correct.
Like we are told, like, we have to be homogeneous. We have to be like to work as a society. Everything has to be the same. But for me, it's the opposite. Yeah. Like I'm so curious on meeting people from different places, and that's my sick curiosity about knowing how many countries are represented in Hong Kong in the first place. But yes, during the interviews, I'm also very interested in getting to know people. I did some life coaching. So I'm interested in the psychology of things, like why people do things the way they do.
The motivation that they have behind their actions,
the philosophy of life or something like that. And this project is satisfying this curiosity as well, because that's what we ask them. Like this, what is your philosophy of life? What moves you? What drives you? So yes, I mean, after every story and after every interview, Eggy and I were talking yes, we feel inspired. We really feel like that magic. Then it's really difficult to put it on words in the book.
Yeah. That moment, right?
That's the challenge. Because that inspiration when we finish the interview is like, wow.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, have you had that where you've met, let's say, an idol or someone that you admire or spoke to and they just clicked in your head? You're like, wow, this moment is like making me really fired up that I want to do all these things. Have you had that, Andy?
Yeah, you.
Thank you. All right. Just wanted to wait for that answer.
All right. You were looking for.
Yeah, I was like, smart move, Andy.
Fishing from across the table. Like, is there anyone you've met who's, from the city, but maybe a little different?
I'm using my eyes. I was like, Andy, say me.
Kicking me under the table. Is there anyone you have met?
Yeah. For example, the last 20 minutes that we've met, other than Oskar.
So what is your philosophy on life then?
Well, that's a very deep question. Well, okay. I mean,
what's the most recent philosophy? Because I think it gets really, really broad, right? The moment philosophy,
hang on, but that's what he said. He asks people. It's a fair question.
Fair enough. Actually, you're right. No, go for it. Yeah,
that's not the first question we asked. What's the philosophy of life?
Hey, dude,
we're 20 minutes.
Nice to meet you.
Loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. Like, what's Oskar's philosophy of life?
Well, for me, it's just it sounds so simple, but it's just living life, because I think we spend a lot of time searching for things, doing things all the time, doing things. But sometimes we just need to relax and just observe and experience things in life. And probably that's for me that's the secret of it. It's just like okay, relax, look into yourself a little bit to see what matters to you, and then just experience life according to that, and do things that move you rather than just doing things for the sake of doing them. I mean, we're all the time looking for projects and objectives and everything. We're kind of running out of time or something, but there's plenty of time to experience life.
Because like one thing you said in the beginning of the podcast was that you talked about that leap of faith that you made initially, right? And I think that's what you said. Like you took that leap of faith and somehow you just keep flying. Like you'll just somehow float. And I think that's also fascinating. I think with comedy as well, you go on stage and you say, let's just try this bit and see what happens. And turns out, oh my God, this bit kills heavy, right? And you don't realize that it's an ongoing thing. So have you found that recurring theme with a lot of the people that you've interviewed where they've all kind of taken that leap of faith and that moment and suddenly now they're just floating in a different world?
I think so. I think with many of these stories, it's like this moment that they don't know why, but they know that they have to do something. And maybe you cannot explain. It comes out of nowhere, but you just feel that that's the thing that you have to do. And then you just leave whatever you have, whatever you're doing at the time, and then you just jump, and then you fly.
I wonder if there's a parallel. So in comedy, when you start, some of the premises, the ideas you have, you look back and they were like the best ideas you ever had, but you don't know how to develop them yet because you don't have the skills. And then later on, you're like, oh man, I could have done that joke so much better now that I know how to write jokes really well. Have you found that now you've kind of established yourself as an interviewer and a storyteller? You look back at some of the early ones you did and you're like, man, I could have done such a much better job.
Let me speak to them again.
You know what I mean? You're like, you get better at it. Is that something you can relate to?
A little bit. I think, these skills when you are doing life coaching, so you're talking one-on-one to people talking about their lives, I think that help a lot to start the interviews. I think it was pretty much, we were run by like intuition. So we were not like following a script or anything that could be improved. It was just like a friend's chat. And that has always been there. I mean, we all have those skills inside, I think, in a way. That's how I feel. Like even though we had no training, and of course we could have done things better. Probably in time, because it took an awful time to do all these things. The process of like doing the interview, then transcribing the interview, then finding the story, then trying to make the story better, sharing with them, because we share the story with every one of them to see that if they're okay with it and it sounded like their voice, and then the translation part. So that was very, very long process, but so we could have improved that in terms of time, but in terms of the type of questions, I think it was the right thing to ask, I think, and you don't even think about it. It's like, oh yeah, at this moment in time, it's the right thing to ask.
It's on instinct.
I think so. That's how I feel. Yeah.
One thing I noticed about the book is the design is amazing. I mean, the logo is great. The colors are all good. I mean, do you have a design background? How did you get such a nice looking book?
That's the thing.
The fashion thing, yeah.
And I will tell this story. I attended this thing called Creative Mornings. So it's a gathering you have in the morning every month.
People are creative in the morning?
Oh, wow. Yeah, after coffee.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I create excuses in the morning.
Exactly, not today. Yeah.
So they had this 30-second pitch that they open to the floor, and anybody attending can share their story and ask for whatever they want to ask. And one day I said, okay, I'm gonna share my story. I'm looking for a designer for my book, because our design sucks. And then there were 5 designers that contacted us.
Oh, okay.
And one of them is the designer of the book, and he's amazing. Olivier is a French guy, has been working like night and day for making this design, and it's very thoughtful because it's like the flooring of the Chachanteng in Hong Kong.
Kind of like the tiles that
the tiles in the floor, and then the colors. So every one of these colors in the cover is the main color of the portraits in every one of the pages. So it's actually the collection of all of the colors in the book.
Am I crazy? Are those the similar colors to the metros as well?
The metro station? Not necessarily. No.
It's got you got the blue, the green, the orange.
It's got, because the Hong Kong trains have the red, the green. I can see you've got the brown one as well. But like this, the exact shade is not the train shade.
No.
But I understand like what you said, Oscar, is like actually every shade represents one of the stories that you have inside the book, right?
Yeah. So in the corner here.
Of every page you'll
So
see.
this is the main
Yeah.
color of this photo.
I never knew that. Actually, I never realized. So on
Yeah.
every page on the side, you've got a shade of, let's say, green or blue or whatever, and that's
Yeah.
represented by the cover design.
Yeah.
That each person designated one shade of color.
Yeah.
So if this book only had 3 pages, this would be racist. But the fact that you have a lot, it makes it very international.
Like, we better interview some more people. The book's looking racist.
we're only stuck at 10, man. This is not going to come out well. But we have 20. This is a great idea.
So the message is like all the colors in Hong Kong.
Multicolor, yeah.
But not color in terms of skin color,
yeah,
but,
just the personalities
Yes.
and everything put together.
Oh, you don't have any green
diversity.
people?
Exactly. No one's environmentally friendly.
So
I
yes,
guess.
Olivier Emilier, he was the one, the artist behind behind all this, and it was such a pleasure working with him. And like him, whenever we call them angels. So whenever we have a need for the project, we just reach out, and then some angel comes out of the sky and,
Man,
and
you
it
know
has
how-
the skill that
You
we
know how to
need.
win people over.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, how much are you going to pay me? Well, we're going to call you an angel. I'll do it. You know.
Exactly.
No, but that was very hard. I remember at the very beginning talking to Bradley, is the head photographer for the book.
And the
took a
photos
lot
are
of,
also they're incredible photos.
Yes, but
Yeah.
imagine myself like a Spanish guy with a long beard meeting somebody for coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to a professional photographer and telling them like, hey, do you want to help me to
Yeah.
make this book? I will pay you nothing.
Yeah.
And you will have to be using your professional skills that
Yeah.
you're usually paid for.
This is why
I
the
said,
women like
okay.
you.
This is why you get the women. Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
that accent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to help this guy. This is fascinating.
Try doing that with an Australian accent.
Yeah.
All right. We're taking some photos, not paying you nothing. Wait, where are you going? Come back.
Yeah. It's called D Hong Kong. No? You can't understand?
D. The letter D.
Yeah. Not the grade. Oh, whatever. Never mind. Okay. So, can I ask you this? So then, what is the ultimate goal of Zero Hong Kong? What would be that thing that you feel like this book has achieved it?
Yeah. So the purpose, that's a very good question. The purpose of our book is not to sell books or anything, is to reach the more local community.
Yeah.
So people in Hong Kong, the students that may not necessarily have met or have interacted with a foreigner in Hong Kong, to have the opportunity to know about the stories and to connect with them. So the ultimate goal of the project is to make society more cohesive, more to link like different people, so the society may be more tolerant. So we want to break these stereotypes that we all have about different places in the world, different people. So we want to break these stereotypes and make people more connected, and hopefully people can learn and be inspired by these stories as we were inspired when we were talking to them. So that's the whole idea, and that's why the book is in English and in Cantonese.
Yeah.
We are going to do events. We have done some exhibitions, and we want to do events in schools, in libraries, to be able to reach these people that initially is like, okay, what is in here for me? That's the initial response, like, what is in here for me? I mean,
True.
A lot of people, Wilo doing things, everything, but what is in here for me? So that's how we want to connect with them.
But have you found that sharing these stories, because you have done exhibitions and stuff with this, and have you found that people actually come into the exhibition with the mindset of like, oh, look at art, let's look at these stories, and when they leave, like, do they have different comments of like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be like, because like with this book, honestly, not to praise it because you're here, but like, I thought, okay, when you gave it to me, I was like, oh, no, it'll be cool stories and everything, but just randomly flipping. What I enjoyed most was the random flipping, rather than going page by page. But I was, let me just see what this story is about. And I'm like, oh my god, this is fascinating. I wouldn't have made this up myself.
He reads it on the toilet. I can tell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like some days, when I didn't have my vegetables, I'm like, I need something, dude. I need something. I can't be sitting here waiting, man. I'm losing my mind. My phone's low batteries. I need something. This book
Picking it up randomly, flipping it. I know what that is.
Clearly, this guy's not that free.
Busted.
Yeah, and that helps. Hey, you know what? I learn a lot when I'm given. Right? The more you give, the more you get.
Why did I set you up for that?
Yeah, and the thing is that we put all of these profiles, like, when you randomly select one, it could be a domestic worker, it could be a CEO of a company, it could be like any type of people in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like we try to balance like gender, race, profession, age, everything. So that's a surprise.
I think, yeah, so
thing.
that's what I mean. Like with this one, it's not a matter of let me upgrade myself in the corporate environment by reading all these successful people. This is like just people with stories that are fascinating, right? And I think that represents Hong Kong in many ways. You like when you see someone on the surface, you're like, oh, this guy can't be that good, you know. Just look at the way he's dressed or whatever, and you're like, well, what? He's done a what? He's done that. And I think that's what's same with comedy. Where with comedy, you'll see the guy on stage, oh, this is very fascinating, but when they get off stage, you're like, well, this guy's not that funny, right? You know, like it's a reverse thing where we go backwards when people are impressed with us on stage. When we get off stage,
Yeah, we're the opposite.
yeah, exactly.
They get less impressed the more they know us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're like, wow, you just went out and you weren't making a joke crossing the road. I'm like, no, I just crossed the road. I waited for the green light and I crossed it. Like,
If you have a really good set, people come talk to you and they just stand there staring at you with a big grin on their face, and you're just like, man, it's hot today.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, come on, say it. Where's the punchline? Hey, I'm waiting for it. Yeah, so you have that. All right, so, I mean, the objective of the book is to kind of interconnect a lot of people and let them know that Hong Kong, especially, I mean, the world, but Hong Kong especially, where you got people of all sorts of backgrounds who are considering Hong Kong home as well. And they've got their stories. Because I think that's another thing that the Hong Kong education system lacks, where we always talk about the idea of like, oh, we are multicultural in an international city, but very often it's a matter of like, oh, so let's welcome these non-Chinese or non-locals into our community. It's like, wait, hold on, why do you put it that way? It's not that you have to welcome, like there's a word in Chinese called 包容, which means inclusive, you know, let's include them. And I always feel that that's very like, I'm at this level and I'm going to include you in my activities. And
Certainly mainland China has that.
there you go.
That's
yeah.
definitely the perspective.
So it's a very like that kind of mentality of like, I am going to be the bigger one to include you. And I always joke about when people tell me, oh, we want to do an inclusive event. I'm like, first of all, I don't need you to include me.
I think there's also an element of like, I'll let you into my thing, but if you mess up, you're out.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're representing,
You know?
like the pressure's on you. If you mess up, you've just excluded a lot of people as well.
I'm only letting you in to the extent that I feel like I'm willing to allow you in.
Yeah.
To the moment until I'm no longer willing to allow you in.
Exactly.
That's a real strong vibe. I get it.
And that happens a lot in the local education system where we're taught a lot of that, oh, we should be open-minded and welcome people. But it's always a matter of like, oh, we should welcome them instead of, and I always say, why can't we just play together? My thing when I go to schools to talk, I always say like, let's play together. Because what I found growing up is that if I put aside the whole who welcomes who and just say, you want to play? Let's play. And then within 20 minutes, like we're playing. That's it. That's all we're doing. And with these stories as well, in Hong Kong, the whole idea is it's a game, right? And people have their different ways of playing the same game. We're trying to get that last seat on the minibus. You know, we're trying to get that train, right? So it's all a game, really.
But I mean, like, I understand that'd be effective in high school, but you know, now at your age, do you think it's weird that you're still playing with children?
Well, Andy, this is why I don't have kids. Because I know, like, if I did it on a full-time basis, they'd be like, this is not right.
But I also, it's an interesting point about the internationalness of the city, because it is very international, but the internationalness is in small pockets. And really, and I know you've mentioned this before, is if you get out of Central, Hong Kong is just very Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not as international in most places. On average, it's very not international at all. And I think part of the book, from things you've said, is about showing the people from Hong Kong how international their city is in a way they don't understand. Was that a goal, and do you think you've been successful in achieving that?
Yes, I mean, we have at the beginning of the book, we have a map of Hong Kong showing like landmarks of the city that are related to cultural diversity. So iconic places in Hong Kong that were started.
So like the
founded by
racetrack and...
Yeah. I mean, a good
Jockey
example.
Club. Sorry.
No, go. No, I was just going to start Friday. That's always the example I like to use in schools. So please continue.
Yeah, so all of these places will set up the framework for people to say like, well, I mean, it's not like today, but from history, like Hong Kong is international city. Not, I got what you mean about the pockets. And it's true that in some places it doesn't look international at all. And we're trying to, and that's very hard. That's very hard to make people think in terms of that we have this strength in Hong Kong. So the moment that people change their frame of thought, that like actually like this international city is one of the things that make Hong Kong unique. So what makes Hong Kong different from other places?
Yeah.
One of the key things is that it's a very international city, historically and nowadays. And maybe one key thing is when we ask people, like, like writing a letter to Hong Kong, like dear Hong Kong, what do I tell to you? People say like this is a place that I can feel myself. Like people come here and they can feel they find their place. So that makes a city international in a way that anybody coming here, they can feel like they're at home.
Yeah.
So that is another angle to see how international place is, because it's comfortable for anybody. It's very welcoming for anybody to come here.
Yeah.
Oskar, thank you so much for sharing your time today, man. It's been fantastic.
It's a pleasure.